Every team, every game. What you need to know about every Big Ten game on the slate this weekend right now, plus our pigskin picks. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, hit that free subscribe button. That way you'll never miss a single episode. We just hit 24,000. Our push to 25K is in your hands. Plus, if you could share, like, and follow, that would be great. And you can hype YouTube videos as well. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So every team, every game, plus our pigskin picks. We're bold and fearless. We'll do that at the end. So let's start off. We're going to go in chronological order. We got big noon on Saturday. No Friday night games this weekend. Big noon on Saturday. UCLA red hot going into number 2 Indiana. Also red hot at 7-0. Again, that'll be the big noon kickoff game on Fox. That means this is going to be 9 a.m. body clock time for the UCLA Bruins coming from the West Coast. Be like a morning game for them. So interim UCLA coach Tim Skipper, I mean, he's on fire right now since he took over the Bruins. And if he wins at number 2 Indiana, I say give him the contract, remove the interim tag from his title, give him the job. But that may be easier said than done because Indiana will be the toughest team that the Bruins have faced so far this year. But ever since Skipper took over for Deshaun Foster, quarterback Nico Iamaleava, they've untapped something there. They've got him playing the way he needs to play. He's been way more effective for this team that started out 0-4. You know the story by now. But winners of 3 straight, including a thriller against Maryland at the Rose Bowl last week with a last-second field goal. That followed a win at Michigan State where they rolled off 38 straight points. And that, of course, was a week after they stunned Penn State. They got a lot going in the right direction with UCLA. Now, whether they're really a good team or whether they just caught fire, Indiana coach Curt Cignetti has noticed. He is referring to the Bruins to his team as an undefeated team since they are undefeated since all these changes. He's getting their attention, and he's not going to let the Bruins sneak up on the Hoosiers. That's why they pay him the big bucks. Literally, just got an 8-year extension for $93 million last week. And they're coming off a win against Michigan State, and they seem to be hitting on all cylinders right now. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza is on the Heisman short list. He's protected by a great line. He's got numerous running backs to hand off to. Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper, his 2 wide receivers, are every bit as good as the Ohio State dynamic duo of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Yeah, I said it. All right, so we'll pick that game in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, Northwestern, they're at Nebraska. That's at 12 noon Eastern on FS1. I think this is a tricky game to handicap. At first glance, I would expect this to be an easy win by the Huskers. But 2 games ago, Dylan Raiola threw 3 picks, including a pick 6 and a 3-point win at Maryland. And they followed that up with an embarrassing loss at Minnesota where they didn't even score a touchdown. And Raiola got sacked 9 times. Offensive line's got to get better here. Meanwhile, we've noticed Northwestern, they have some weekly improvement each and every week. And they come to Lincoln riding a 4-game winning streak. Northwestern. We're talking about Northwestern. 4-game winning streak right now and 4th in the Big Ten standings. They shut out Purdue last week, 19-0. They had that impressive win at Penn State. Let's not just forget about that. And they're not going to be fazed by a raucous Huskers crowd, having already tackled that Beaver Stadium crowd a couple of weeks ago. So this is going to be an interesting game. We'll have it in our pigskin picks, of course. Rutgers is at Purdue. That is also a noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Big Ten Network kickoff. Rutgers showed some promise early this year. We love talking about them. They had a high-scoring offense with Ethan Kaliakmanis, but they always did have a porous defense. And now that's catching up to him. Now that the schedule's getting tougher, the opponents are getting more difficult. Kaliakmanis is coming off his worst game ever last weekend as well. And that was against Oregon, where Oregon just ran right down their throat. 5 touchdowns on their first 6 offensive drives against them. So the defense was letting all that up. And as we mentioned, Purdue just got blanked by Northwestern 19-0. The week before, they blew a late lead against Minnesota. So don't look now, Purdue fan, but your schedule gets worse. You've got after this, after all these troubles you've had as of late, you got 4 games to close out the season at Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington, and Indiana. That's going to be rough. Both Rutgers and Purdue are looking for their first conference win. Meanwhile, this is the interesting game. Number 23, Illinois at Washington. That's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on the Big Ten Network. And both teams are loaded and talented with playmakers. Both come in at 5-2. Illinois' losses are to Indiana and Ohio State, the top 2 teams of the Big Ten. In fact, Brett Bielema noted that this week at his press conference. He says he's actually rooting for Indiana and Ohio State to go undefeated the rest of the way, run the table, and meet in the Big Ten championship. All of that will make Illinois' record look better. If those are his only 2 losses and those teams are undefeated and highly ranked, that will make his schedule look better. And he's right to say that, even though it sounds weird. And Illinois' most impressive win this year would be against USC. That might help them navigate that tightly packed middle section of the Big Ten standings when it comes to tiebreakers. Luke Altmaier has a 13-1 touchdown to interception ratio, but he's taken 23 sacks this year. His big weapon, of course, is Hank Beatty, who has 39 catches, 617 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. But he has also thrown a touchdown. He has run for a touchdown. He has a return for a touchdown. He scored 4 different ways. He is a huge threat for the Illini, plus Gabe Jacobs on defense is 4.5 sacks. Meanwhile, Washington is coming off a very disappointing loss in Ann Arbor against Michigan, and that game was tied at the half, and they just let it get away from them. Damon Williams threw 3 picks, including on consecutive series in that loss, and for this offense is too loaded to have a game get away from them like that. And so they're just going to chalk it up to a bad game and let bygones be bygones and move on the schedule. Anyway, those are just some of the games. We do every team, every game. We still have more. But first, if you are new, hit that free subscribe button. That way you'll never miss a single episode. Again, now we're like this close to 25,000. You can help be part of that. Also, if you could share, follow, and like, that helps us out too. Don't forget, we have a website. It's called talkbig1010.com, where we put all of our podcasts on, and you can go back and check out a second listen after this one's done. See what you missed this week. We covered a lot of ground this week. Plus, there are links there if you want to buy Big Ten merchandise. You want to buy a shirt with your team logo on it, or pennants or hats. Christmas is right around the corner. We got all that for you. So check that all out at our website, talkbig10.com. All right. We got more teams, more games. The Ducks hosting Wisconsin. How bad is that going to be for the Badgers? We got Minnesota and Iowa. We got Michigan State. By the way, we're going to be going live after that game. So I'll have more details on that coming up in just a moment. All that is on the way as we continue here on Locked On Big Ten. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it, because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to go that extra yard, shift into that extra gear, keep moving the game forward. For example, I'll throw out Julian Sand with 4 touchdown passes for the Ohio State Buckeyes last week. He always delivered. And he not only won Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, he won Big Ten Freshman of the Week as well. Just extending excellence, just like Mazda. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten as we cover every single game going into this weekend. Let's do it here. Let's pick it back up by looking at the Minnesota-Iowa game. Now, this is a 3:30 game on CBS, 12:30 Pacific. And these are two teams with some momentum that I want to talk about here. So I think this is really intriguing as both teams are playing so well since the Gophers had that lackluster performance. What, about 3 weeks ago? They went out on the West Coast and they played at Cal. They were banged up at running back. They looked awful, lost that game. I don't know what happened there. And I think they had a bye week right after that. PJ Fleck got this team turned around, got them dialed in, and they're playing really well now. And then when it really clicked, I would say 2 games ago, they were down by 7 against Purdue at home, and they scored a touchdown and kicked it off, and then had a pick 6 by Coy Parrish. And ever since then, they've just been on fire. So they literally scored 14 points in 7 seconds to steal that game from the Purdue Boilermakers. So that was phenomenal. And then last week, they just absolutely embarrassed Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska comes into that game at the time 5-1, ranked 25th in the country, finally getting a little spark, getting, ready to climb up the ladder a little bit. I remember this was also the same week that the whole Penn State thing happened, and Matt Rule didn't really give a great answer, because I think he really does want the Penn State job, and I think it affected people. You can agree with me or disagree with me on that. I think that affected the mentality of his football team, the way he answered that this week. So, because I think the kids love playing for him, and now they're thinking about, is he going to go? Dylan Raiola is thinking, hey, what's going on? Am I going to stay around here if he leaves? And they played like it. Raiola, by the way, may have other reasons to start thinking about going elsewhere. He got sacked 9 times in that game. The Gophers defense was all over him. So not a good offensive performance at all. And in fact, they didn't even score a touchdown. They just had a couple of field goals in the game. So really a bad week for Nebraska. And if you want to go back to the Purdue game, the Gophers defense hasn't given up a touchdown in 6 quarters and shutting down Nebraska like that. Now, with Minnesota, I do like their young quarterback, Drake Lindsey. He's coming along really well. Darius Taylor, their starting running back, another week behind him past those hamstring issues. I think he's pretty much fully recovered from that. That was an earlier problem as well. It did miss some time too. So anyway, that's all about Minnesota. And we got diving into that Nebraska game a little bit, but they are, of course, taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes. And if I want to sit here and talk about how good Minnesota's defense has been lately, I gotta talk about defense with Iowa. Their defense is always pretty good. They were instrumental in thwarting Penn State's attempt at a late comeback in that game. Everybody's beaten Penn State. And the week before that, they shut out Wisconsin. So, but then again, everybody shuts out Wisconsin. It might happen again a 3rd week in a row. We'll get to that. Mark Gronowski, the quarterback of Iowa, seems to be figuring out this offense. And I would say, though, this threat is more with the legs than the arm at this point. But nevertheless, they're starting to become productive, I think, with him at quarterback. All right. So we'll have our pick in that game in just a minute. Meanwhile, talked about Wisconsin. They're at number 6, Oregon. That is a 7 p.m. game on the East Coast. The game's on the West Coast. Eastern time at 7 o'clock. Pacific time, the kickoff is at 4 o'clock. It's on FS1. And as I alluded to earlier, Wisconsin's coming off of back-to-back games where they even score a single point against Iowa and Ohio State. And to make matters worse, both of those came in front of the home fans. And I believe their previous home game was the Maryland game where they were shut out in the first half of that game before putting up 10 points in the second half. They're doing this in front of their home crowd. They're fans that pay money to come out and see this. And they've been booing, and there's been a few empty seats. And the tradition of jump around isn't as enthusiastic as it used to be. And there are chances of firing Luke Fickell coming from the stands every single week out there. A lot of other programs are probably going, okay, this is it. Year 3, we're probably going to make a change. But despite all that, athletic director Chris McIntosh strongly hinted that not only will Fickell survive this season, he is likely to be back next year. And what McIntosh says is, look, we have We got to do better funding this football program. We've underfunded it. So, yeah, the coach is not the problem. We got to get more resources into the football program. Now, how do I really interpret that after just sitting on that for a day or two? They got to go out and get themselves an expensive quarterback. They gotta spend some nil money, spend about $3 million and get themselves a quarterback. Whether that is a 5-star, I don't know. Because that's a high school kid that you want to develop. How much longer are the boosters going to have patience with Luke Fickell if a guy's coming in there to develop? Or do you spend millions of dollars and go get yourself the top transfer portal quarterback out there? Maybe like Indiana did with Fernando Mendoza. I don't know. I don't know what the end, but now I will tell you this. They've gone transfer route at quarterback every year that Fickell's been there, and it's been a disaster. So I'm like, hey, are we developing anybody? I don't know. I got a lot of options when I'm talking about Wisconsin football. So now with everything that's gone wrong, now they got to travel out west and take on the Ducks, who look to have bounced back from their earlier loss to Indiana, which was the first ever loss since they've been in the Big Ten. And they look like they were hitting on all cylinders at Rutgers last week. They scored on 5 touchdowns on the first 6 drives. Dante Moore, their quarterback, should have a big day against the Badgers defense. And the story is going to be whether Wisconsin can actually score anything. I mean, the Oregon defense is pretty good. I don't think it's too bad at all. They're going to be out there. That's going to be their goal. I guarantee you in their meetings this week. Hey, this team hasn't scored in 2 weeks. They're not scoring on us, field goal or otherwise. So we'll see how that one goes. And then the rivalry game on Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on NBC, the NBC Big Ten Saturday night game. Number 25, Michigan. Yes, they're back into the top 25 after falling out at Michigan State. Pivotal game for both teams. Michigan recovered nicely from their loss against USC with that home win against Washington last week. And they want to keep that momentum going. They're into the final stretch of the season here, and they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, even though somewhat slim, but they still have a chance. The Wolverines had 3 interceptions in that game against Washington, so the defense really played well. They got banged up. That is the youngest offensive line of the Big Ten. It was pretty young to begin with, but they've been getting banged up, and Bryce Underwood has been figuring out when to run, when to take off, and when to be a dual threat. He's getting better at that. I do have some good news to report. Left tackle Evan Link, who was carted off the field against Washington. Sharon Morse's injury wasn't as bad as they thought, and it's not a season ender. Now, he won't play this week, but they will get him back. That is good news. And also things are looking positive for Justice Haynes, their running back, their lead running back, who suffered an abdominal side torso injury against USC, sat out the Washington game. He was practicing this week, trending toward playing. So that's good for them. And, of course, I think Jordan Marshall will still get a lot of carries as well. Now, on the other side, this game may be more pivotal for Jonathan Smith, as he's still looking for his first Big Ten win this year. 2 weeks ago, the Spartans were decimated by UCLA, and I thought they gave up, and which is never good. But I thought they gave a good, put forth a great effort against the Indiana Hoosiers. They were just simply outmanned by talent and could not win that game. So still, an upset win here would be a big shot in the arm for his program. We talked about this in our podcast yesterday. In fact, we previewed this game as well. If you want to go check it out, what it means to both of the coaches and where they're at in their programs right now. If you want to catch it for a second listen, it was on Locked On Big Ten yesterday. You can check that out. But yeah, crazy things happen in this series, no matter who's favorite. Yeah, 2015, you had the bad punt, trouble on the snap. Michigan State with the walk-off touchdown to win the game 27-23. 2022, the Wolverines won the game 29-7, but that was when the fight broke out down in the tunnel. And now teams, they don't go in together. And 7 players from Michigan State were charged, literally criminally charged in that game. And, of course, there was the 2023 game in the midst of the Spygate scandal at Michigan. Michigan State's like, whoa, we're not playing this game. I think we're going to cancel it because our players will get hurt if Michigan knows our plays. They played the game anyway. Michigan won 49-0 on their way to a national championship. So, anyway, after this game, it should end around 11 o'clock Eastern. Michigan and Michigan State, 8 o'clock Pacific. 11 o'clock Eastern-ish. As soon as the winning coach does the on-the-field interview on NBC, we go live. So make an appointment. And we're not just going to talk about Michigan State. We'll start off with that because it's top of mind right there. You get my immediate raw reaction. I get your immediate reaction in live real-time comments. That's why we do it and go live. But we're going to recap the entire day throughout the Big Ten, the Illinois-Washington game, UCLA at Indiana. We'll cover it all and get your reaction to all that. A big day around the Big Ten. In the meantime, if you want to hit me up with any comments now, if you don't want to wait till Saturday, hit me up now. Side note, USC, Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State on bye this week. All right, we've laid it all out. That's everything you need to know about every single game. You know what's next? We go on the record for you with our pigskin picks. That's next right here on Locked On Big Ten. It's the weekend. It's here, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. And just like you could win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it down. I'm just going to stick with Julian Sayin on this one, the young quarterback at Ohio State, 4 touchdowns. They're rolling, and he is doing a great job. He's really picking up the offense, and Ohio State is going deeper and deeper into their playbook each and every week, and he delivers without any hesitation and no delay, just like DoorDash. And with DoorDash Streaks on Saturdays. That's right. They order on Saturdays. Or they deliver on Saturdays. If you order on Saturday after Saturday after Saturday, put some streaks together of Saturdays, you can stack them all up. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, and fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period now through November 18th. You watch games because they're exciting and you're a fan, and they're always more exciting with FanDuel. We're in the middle of the NFL season, and right now, new customers, you get this deal that you don't want to miss, right? If you can bet just $5 on your first bet, and if it hits, you get $300 in bonus bets. Right there on the spot. So you pick a bet, you put down $5. If it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, the app is super easy to use. Point spreads, game totals, props, futures. You can parlay. You can do single bets. It's anything you can think of is right there. So check it out. Plus, when you win, payback is quick. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's at FanDuel.com. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. Again, a reminder, we're going live after the Michigan State game. Check us out then. In the meantime, let's go on the record with our pigskin picks. If you're on audio only, like on Spotify or Apple, by the way, we're audio only if you want it to, in addition to the video on YouTube. We're there, but I'm going to put this on screen. I'm just going to list the schools and the graphics and their point totals on each of these games. All right, let's pick it up here with UCLA at number 2, Indiana. The Hoosiers are a 25.5-point favorite. The number is 54.5. Listen, this is I get a lot of respect for UCLA and how they're playing right now. However, second home game in a row for Indiana. I think they kind of found their groove there again against Michigan State in the second half. And I think they're going to come in this game with a tremendous amount of momentum. Now, if Nico can scramble around up the middle, maybe. But I will tell you this. I personally think Indiana is the best tackling team in the country. When they hit you, they wrap you up. And I don't know that Nico's going to be able to fly around. I think Indiana keeps adding to its lead. I think they eventually will cover the 25.5. They will score a lot. The question is the total at 54.5. How much do they give up to UCLA? Because Indiana's defense is really good. Let's say, though, the UCLA gets a couple of scores. If they do, maybe that's a touchdown and a field goal. Maybe it's 2 touchdowns. That would be a lot, but I will take the over because we're bold and fearless. 54.5, take the over. Northwestern at Nebraska. This is an intriguing game, an intriguing line. Nebraska is an 8.5-point favorite at home. The number is low at 43.5. I don't think Nebraska covers that number. I don't. Give me Northwestern. I think this is a closer game. Heck, Northwestern may even pull the upset here. So give me Northwestern. I do take the under. I don't think it's going to be a lot of scoring here. No, Nebraska's offense is not really flying right now, and Northwestern has a lot of low-scoring games. Give me the under at 43.5. Give me Northwestern. Nebraska's not covering the 8.5. Elsewhere, Rutgers at Purdue. Rutgers is a 1.5 favorite. I think Rutgers is better than Purdue, and yeah, I think they can win by a field goal on the road. By the way, the 58.5 for the over-under, hammer the over on that. Neither team can stop anybody right now, and Rutgers is going to put some points up, and if Purdue can put some up too, and hey, this thing's going to fly into the 60s, I think. Perhaps the most competitive game on the board, number 23, Illinois at Washington. Washington, a 4.5 point favorite. The number's 54.5. I think Illinois is ready to go. And Washington, I thought was ready to go. And then they pulled at Michigan last week, and now I've lost some confidence. So I think Illinois is going to cover this number here. And by the way, I like both teams to score a lot. Let this thing fly. There's so many weapons on this field. We're going to fly past the 54.5. What else we have here on the board? We're going to switch pages here. We got Minnesota at Iowa. Iowa minus 8.5. 39.5 is the number. This is a field goal game. So, and it's an important game in the standings. So I don't think Iowa can win by 8.5. This is closer. So give me Minnesota. And I'm going to hold my breath and take the under. Fearless and bold right here. 39.5. It's going to be a nice defensive battle. Classic Big Ten defensive battle. Wisconsin at Oregon. Number 6, Oregon. Oregon is a 31.5 point favorite. Ohio State did not cover their number against Wisconsin in their shutout. So I don't know if now this is a lower number because I believe the Ohio State one was 41.5. They've dropped it here. Oregon is 31.5. Yeah, I think they'll cover it. I think they'll get into the 30s. The deal is, though, with the 44.5, I'm going to take the under because I do not think Wisconsin's going to score again. If they do, it's a field goal at best. The problems for Wisconsin offense continue. So Oregon wins this game 35-3, 35-0, 37-0. So I take the under, but Oregon does cover that 31.5. And finally, Michigan at Michigan State. Michigan is a 14.5 point favorite. The number is 48.5. I think that this game may mirror what Michigan State did against Indiana last week. Kind of keep it interesting for a quarter and a half. I just think Michigan is just got a couple more weapons and they're going to pull away. I think they'll cover. I think Michigan wins this game by about 17 points and 48.5. I don't think both teams are scoring a lot. So I would take the under in that game. So what do you think about that? Hit me up in the comments section. There we are on the record. Fearless and bold with our pigskin picks. We do it every Friday here on Locked On Big Ten. Thanks for checking us out. Let me know what you think about them. Also, we're here every single day. In addition to going live tomorrow on Saturday, we're here every day. News, analysis, and opinion of the news around the Big Ten, all 18 teams. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where our podcasts go. Plus, there are links for your favorite Big Ten school merchandise there. Hit that subscribe button as we now make our push from 24,000 to 25,000 before the end of the season. That way you'll never miss a single episode. That'll be great if you could do that. And share, follow, and like. Because if you're a Big Ten fan, I know you know other Big Ten people, hit that little arrow and send this podcast their way as well. And finally, another note, Locked On and Fire TV present the college football kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along with two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, plus college star Jesse Holley, and all of our Locked On experts come together, put it all together, and tell you everything you need to know about every single game, every single weekend. The college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch it every Thursday on Fire TV. That'll do it for us. We will see you live Saturday night after the Michigan State game. And, of course, we'll be back at it Monday as well. Enjoy your weekend. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. See you then.